Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now. Black power.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Today is Thursday, June 5th, 2025. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. Oh, Lord, Donald Trump, Elon Musk having a throwdown. Elon says it's time to impeach his orange ass. Oh, as Keith Jackson would say, whoa, Nelly. Trump's new travel ban is back, and he's going after African countries. We will, of course, break that down as well. Plus, thousands of new moms can lose Medicaid coverage just weeks after giving birth. We'll talk to Congresswoman Robin Kelly. Also, we'll talk to hear from Congresswoman Yvette Clarke, who announced the Congressional Creators Caucus launch a news conference. We'll tell you all about it. It's time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the biz, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now. All right, folks, Donald Trump, he is stopping citizens from nearly 20 countries from coming into the United States. And, of course, we know he's targeting African nations. No shock. He called African nations shithole countries in his first term. And so these restrictions by the twice impeached, criminally convicted felon-in-chief showcases that what he really wants is white people in America. So if we unpack, we're talking about Afghanistan. If you look at the people, Afghanistan, Iran, those are some of the countries. Oh, guess what? All y'all Cubans, y'all was sitting here celebrating, throwing parties about Trump being elected. And guess what? He just told y'all kinfolk, y'all can't come here either. Okay? Folks, and so when we start unpacking all the other countries, guess what? We're talking about Sudan, Congo, Haiti, Chad, look at this, Libya, Somalia, Yemen, all these nations. We got Cuba, Venezuela. Laos face partial restrictions on travel and immigration as well. The ban is set to begin June 9th. It is applied to both permanent immigrants as well as folks with temporary visitors, with exceptions for U.S. green cards and holders in sports events, stuff like that. So listen to this idiot.
Mr. President, on your new travel ban, why now? And if the Boulder attack was part of your reasoning, why not include Egypt on that list where the suspect is from?
Well, because Egypt has been a country that we deal with very closely. They have things under control. The countries that we have don't have things under control. And why now? I can say that it can't come soon enough, frankly. We want to keep bad people out of our country. The Biden administration allowed some horrendous people, and we're getting them out one by one, and we're not stopping until we get them out. We have thousands of murderers. I even hate to say this in front of the Chancellor. Of course, you have a little problem, too, with some of the people that were allowed into your country. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. It shouldn't have happened. I told her it shouldn't have happened, what she did. But you have your own difficulty with that, and we do, and we're moving them out, and we're moving them out very strongly. But it can't come fast enough. We want to get them out. We want to get them out now. We don't want to have other bad people coming into our country. By using the word bad, I'm being nice.
Well, New York Congressman, this was actually funny. He was on CNN, and he finally said what white Democrats should be saying about the truth about what's going on. Check it out.
The other executive action that President Trump took tonight, banning travel from these 12 nations, restricting it partially from 7 others. What is your reaction to that move from the White House tonight?
I mean, it's pretty consistent with what his quote-unquote immigration policy is, which is just essentially to keep anyone who's not white out of the country. And that's what he's trying to do with these mass deportations of people who are going through the asylum process, which is a lawful pathway. That's now what he's trying to do in targeting these specific countries. And so it's a combination of this effort to push forward with this great replacement theory, as well as just to distract from what's really going on, which is a revolt against his terrible reconciliation bill that cuts taxes for billionaires and increases our deficit by $2.5 trillion.
Yannick Gill is senior counsel at Human Rights First. He joins us right now. Yannick, he does not want black and brown people in this country. It's abundantly clear.
And I can't say it any more than Representative Dan Goldman. This is not immigration policy. This is not foreign affairs. And this abundantly has nothing to do with national security. This is about race. And when we look at the countries that were chosen, there's only 2 things that they have in common. One, majority of the countries are majority Muslim countries. And 2, these are all black and brown countries. And as you said at the top of the show, it's not a coincidence that over half of them are African nations or predominantly black nations like Haiti. Again, this is following a terrible terrorist attack that happened on the soil, but it was clearly used as an excuse. Otherwise, Egypt would have been part of this list. This is following a long list of previous bans that he tried in the first administration. He got sued. He tried again. He tried again. And it's clear this is nothing more than an attack on anyone that doesn't fit what Donald Trump thinks an American should look like. It's a brazenly anti-black and racist assault on our human rights.
Do you expect there to be more lawsuits this time?
Absolutely. In addition to the lawsuits that are coming from Human Rights First, many of our partners were up. We were in communication. I was in the middle of a dinner, had to pick up my laptop and begin to work and plan and strategize. We are all trying to figure out exactly which parts of the INA he's trying to use and whether or not it makes sense, exactly how and when and where to strategically litigate these matters. These things are all unconstitutional. The movements that he's doing are all illegal. And it's clear this is simply a racist attack on our human rights. Nothing more, nothing less.
And it's no surprise Republicans are going along with it. And when you heard him give the explanation why Egypt wasn't on the list, how much of a joke was that?
If you don't laugh, you'll cry, Roland. Because you have to think. When I saw that Cuba was also on the list, Venezuela was also on the list. You may recall from our first conversation, I'm a proud Florida man. And I can't wait to speak with some of those Republican offices and just ask them, what are you going to say to your constituents now that the legal pathways that they're always lauding, the same legal pathways that they say you should be taking, are now further being crumbled? This is only going to hurt asylum seekers. These are going to hurt refugees, people trying to get student visas. These aren't criminals. These are people attempting to do things through existing legal pathways that Trump is, again, shutting down if you have too much melanin.
And a lot of those people in Florida, they were voting for him. They were having celebrations. Those Cubans and Venezuelans, boy, I bet they haven't. They might want to start get our shirts hashtag We Tried to Tell You.
And there's a part of me that doesn't want to say I told you so, but I think right now we do. We have to remind folks, this is exactly what you voted for. This is not a surprise. This is exactly what happened and Trump won. This is what he ran on. He said that he was going to close the borders. He said in 2018, we need more people from Norway. He's saying the quiet part out loud. And at this point, we are now facing the repercussions of a racist president that only wants people that look like his wife coming into this country.
Oh, yeah, that's exactly what it is, and so it is no doubt. All right, Yannick, we certainly appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Always a pleasure, Roland.
All right, folks, my panel, Dr. Noel Haynes at Georgetown University School of Foreign Service, Washington, D.C., Robert Patillo, he's an attorney, also now working on Capitol Hill. What are you doing on Capitol Hill?
We write stuff, things be around, so you got to keep it vague, Roland.
Yeah, keep it vague. You got to tell me what the hell you doing. Who you working for?
We'll work for Congressman Jackson. I'm making sure we're
Congressman Jonathan Jackson.
Yeah, not Ronnie Jackson out of Texas, Dr. Feelgood.
So you guys got specified.
Yeah, so we can make sure we're coordinating conversations and articulating things for the district.
So let's get right to it. Noel, I want to start with you. I mean, you look at these countries. It's targeted black people, and they're like, again, we tried to tell these people what was going down, but nah, they ain't want to listen. You really on mute, Nola? You really on mute? You really on mute? We got to go through this again. Yes, you on mute. We're just going to go to Robert while Nola's trying to figure out what she's doing with her laptop. Robert, I mean, this is a clear target. Yeah, finally.
Look, tell your audience this is a new system. This is a whole new system, y'all. Don't let him sit there and
play with y'all. It's the same laptop your ass been using for the last year.
No, it's not. This is brand new.
Well, guess what? Read the manual.
Send it to me.
No, read your manual.
Can I finish now?
Hell, you didn't even start.
Travel bans.
You didn't even start.
I wish I could have asked Yannick a question because I wanted to ask him a question about the Supreme Court. In 2017, the Supreme Court told Donald Trump that the bans were legal on the grounds of presidential authority. So I'm curious as to what the new approaches would be for this extension of the travel bans. And this is what makes it very interesting, is that it's an extension of the 2017 and 2020 travel bans, right? And so while all the lower courts, like Yannick said that it was completely illegal, that it was racist, it was biased, the Supreme Court the Supreme Court said, well, he can pretty much do what he wants to do. And then the second thing I want to point out, this is also on the heels of the second round of Afrikaners coming to the United States. I think they just got here yesterday. So it is very clear who Donald Trump thinks are good people and who he thinks are bad people. And clearly, if you have any melanin in your skin, you are automatically deemed a bad person.
Robert, one of the countries is Sierra Leone, and there's a certain black actor from Houston who is big time MAGA. It's amazing how his Twitter feed has been real quiet. He's got dual citizenship with Sierra Leone and the United States. And I'm talking about Isaiah Washington. Mm-hmm. He made a whole big deal. It's amazing how he's been quiet, that Trump is now banning folk from the country of his roots, his DNA.
I think it's interesting. I think many of the people in the MAGA movement are finding this out. We'll probably talk about Elon finding this out a little bit later. But the fact that Donald Trump is a white nationalist. That has to be the prevailing thing to Donald Trump is a white nationalist. His belief is that America should be a majority white nation. How do we know this? As was just stated, he is importing white people to the United States of America from South Africa. There are other countries, there are actual genocides that are taking place right now. And what are we seeing? We are seeing that despite the genocide taking place in Sudan, despite the genocide taking place in other parts of Myanmar and other parts of the world, those people are literally banned from coming to the United States of America. But he is welcoming with open arms on the justification of a fake white genocide that we are going to be bringing in South Africans. Go a step further. He wants to make Greenland a territory and annex their white people also to the United States of America. Those nice Denmark, Dutch, or what were they called, those people from Denmark? He wants those in America. He wants to make Canada the only other majority white country in the Western Hemisphere. He wants to make that the 51st state. How much more explicit does he need to be in his policy? He is saying that if you are 90 miles off the U.S. coast and facing civil unrest in Haiti, you can't come here. But if you're in South Africa and somebody burned someone else's field and there's a video, we need you here. So from here on out, for the people who thought he was joking, who did not believe what he was saying, who looked at Steve Bannon, who looked at Stephen Miller, who hurt Charlottesville and very fine people on both sides that didn't believe it, we are now seeing that that is the truth of where we are at currently. And when you're looking at the white nationalist agenda, now you have to recontextualize every single policy that Trump has put in place to fit it within that rubric. When you're talking about taking away SNAP benefits from poor families, that is meant to directly impact poor Black and brown families. When you're talking about getting rid of public housing assistance and many of the other programs, that's why reducing the population of Black and brown people in this country. We're talking about cutting off USAID to nations around the world that are in need of development aid, which people have estimated have already cost as many as 50,000 lives globally. It's about controlling that. And once you realize that America has now fallen to a white nationalist government, that has to motivate the way that you coordinate your response going forward. This is no longer a political response that we've traditionally had. There's no longer a place where we'll just say, well, we'll wait till the midterm elections and maybe we'll change campaign finance laws or something. We're in an existential battle for the future of Black and brown America, and currently we're more worried about what's going on with Haley and DDG and whatever else is going on in pop culture than actually concentrating on what is the erosion and the reversal of the entirety of the civil rights movement.
All right, folks, hold tight 1 second. We come back, lots to break down. Of course, if the German Chancellor comes to the Oval Office, he has to teach that fool Donald Trump about D-Day in American history. We're going to talk about the battle between Elon Musk and Trump. Boy, that's a doozy. It's a lot we're going to break down. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
On the next Get Wealthy with me, Deborah Owens, have you ever had $1 million idea and wondered how to bring it to life? Well, it's all about turning problems into opportunities. On our next Get Wealthy, you'll learn of a woman who identified the overload bag syndrome, and now she's taking that money to the bank through global sales in major department stores.
And I was just struggling with 2 or 3 bags on the train. And I looked around on the train and I said, you know what? There are a lot of women that are carrying two or 3 bags.
That's right here on Get Wealthy, only on Black Star Network.
This week on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie, we're talking all things faith, family, and fatherhood. Men step in and out of our lives in a variety of ways as fathers, uncles, cousins, and different ways in which we enjoy their company and presence, and in other ways when they get on our nerves. This week on our show, we'll be talking about what it means to be a father, how women can support the men in their lives, as well as how do we heal the wounds that we've had from poor conversation, lack of desire, and all of the other ways that we sometimes as women check out and cause our men to feel emasculated. That's all this week on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
This week on The Other Side of Change.
Mass incarceration, Trump administration is doubling down on criminalization, and how it is profitable.
And there's something really, really perverse about saying that we need to put people in cages in order for other people to have jobs. Like, that is not how our economy should be built.
Only on The Other Side of Change on the Black Star Network.
Next on The Black Table with me, Greg Carr. We featured the brand new work of Professor Angie Porter, which, simply put, is a revolutionary reframing of the African experience in this country. It's the one legal article everyone, and I mean everyone, should read. Professor Porter and Dr. Valeethia Watkins, our legal roundtable team, join us to explore the paper that I guarantee is going to prompt a major aha moment in our culture.
You crystallize it by saying, who are we to other people? Who are African people to others? Governance is our thing. Who are we to each other? The structures we create for ourselves, how we order the universe as African people.
That's next on The Black Table, here on the Black Star Network.
What's up, y'all? Look, Fanbase is more than a platform. It's a movement to empower creators, offering a unique opportunity for everyday people to invest in Black-owned tech, infrastructure, and help shape the future of social media. Investing in technology is essential for creating long-term wealth and influence in the digital age. The Black community must not only consume tech, we must own it.
Discover how equity crowdfunding can serve as a powerful tool for funding Black businesses, allowing entrepreneurs to raise capital directly through their community through the Jobs Act.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol,
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate Black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
What's good, y'all? This is Doug E. Fresh, and you're watching my brother Roland Martin Unfiltered as we go a little something like this. Hit it. It's real.
All across the country, the parents of students enrolled in Job Corps, folks 18 to 24, have been shocked and stunned as their children have been released from the program, literally ordered to come pick their stuff up after Donald Trump whacked the Department of Labor's budget. Well, last night, a judge stayed that decision. Congresswoman Maxine Waters had this to say outside of one of those centers.
I care about you. I care about children who don't have any place to sleep at night, who are sleeping out of their cars, trying to go to school, trying to go to Job Corps. I care about mothers who don't know where the next food is going to come from. I care about fathers who are crying because they can't get employed. They're discriminated against. I get this. I understand this. And if I sound a little mad and angry, hell, I know how to be angry. I know how to be nice, but I know how to be angry too. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you just got to show it. And sometimes you got to make believers out of people and let them know that you're not going to take it sitting down, that you're in this fight. We are in this fight, and we're not going to stop. Trump thinks he's a king. He thinks he can do anything he wants to. And of course, he's in the West Wing of the White House. He's the President of the United States. The President can do, I guess, whatever they want to, because the Constitution doesn't list all the things they can't do. And so he used executive orders. But it is the people who will determine what he really does, based on how you're going to deal with all of these executive orders that he's doing that would cause people to be poor, to be not healthy. Medicaid, all of this is involved. Head Start is involved. Everything is involved. If the people turn out, if the people show up, we can beat them. Do you understand that? Yeah. Are you willing to do that? Yeah. All right, let's kick it.
Folks, last night, a New York judge issued a temporary restraining order preventing the administration from shutting down the program. And of course, you see it right here. It says that it is further ordered that defendants, their agents, and all persons acting in concert or participation with defendants are enjoined from enforcing, implementing, maintaining, or giving effect to the elimination of the Job Corps program, including the stop work orders and termination and non-renewal notices delivered to Job Corps center operators starting May 29th, 2025. Joining us right now is Congresswoman Maxine Waters. Always glad to have you on the show, Congresswoman. It was very interesting, Congresswoman. Earlier in the week, I played a video of this black conservative out of Georgia who he was one of the folks who was skinning and grinning at the White House for Trump's Black History Month reception. And he goes by the name King Randall. And it was quite interesting because he posted this video complaining about the program cuts. I thought it was quite hilarious because if you listen to what he has to say, Congresswoman, it's amazing who he never mentioned while he was saying it. So listen to this.
Job Corps is closing here in the city of Albany, and that leaves us with a little over 500 students that were here on this campus, and 19% of those students are labeled as homeless. We have a little over 250 jobs that'll be leaving the city of Albany. And while this is not the city of Albany government's fault, this is a time for our local and state leadership to step up, because we'd be stupid to act powerless in this situation. Because while this school is still here, while this building is still here, while this campus is still here, what could this become? Could this become a Southwest Georgia regional hub for trade skills training? Could this become something major that the city brings on to start training workforce? Because if we're training workforce, then we can invite industry to come here. But if we don't have any workforce for industry, they'll never come. But if Doherty County School System could train workforce in adults, why can't the city of Albany do the same thing? So my question to leadership is, are we going to allow this opportunity now to pass us by, or are we going to lead? Are our leaders going to lead? And if they don't want to lead, they need to step aside and let somebody else do it.
I just found that to be quite hilarious, Congresswoman. It's because he says, while it's not the city of Albany, Georgia's fault this is happening, but he never mentions whose fault it is. He never mentions Trump. He never mentions that he was the one who cut the program. Not anywhere in there did he argue for the program needed to be restored. The money needed to be restored. Made the argument as to why. And see, that's my problem with these black MAGA people who I call the help. It's amazing how they love to say black people who voted for Vice President Kamala Harris on the plantation, but they get real quiet when stuff happens to black people. And when it comes to the Job Corps program, half of the people in Job Corps are African American.
Absolutely. And either they are extraordinarily ignorant or they're being dishonest. They know, I believe, they know where these cuts are coming from. For those who want to identify with Trump, they're willing to say or do whatever it takes in order to be embraced by him. But listen, let me tell you something. This strike against children is absolutely unconscionable. I heard someone mention, I think it was he, what percentage of the students that he was talking about are homeless. When I was at the Job Corps, one of the things that the supervisor told me there was that the majority of those students are homeless. And she does not want to try and put them in some kind of temporary program and be with older adults and all of that. Well, you know what I'm saying? When I'm telling them, let's fight. I mean, let's put up the fight. She said they want us out of here. I said, no, let's get our pillows and our blankets and let's move in and let's not move. The lease has been paid for and it will be sitting there empty if Job Corps does not utilize it. And so when I talk about sitting in, laying in, I'm talking about doing the kind of work we did and you did when we were fighting against apartheid. We set in, we got arrested, we did whatever it took. This is the only thing the opposition will understand. This is the only thing that Trump will understand. And so, as I told them, I'm in this fight. And I mentioned to them, I'm from St. Louis. I came from a family of 13 children. I understand what poverty is all about. I understand what it is not to know exactly what's going to happen to you, whether or not you're going to have a place to live, et cetera, et cetera. So we got to fight. We got to be in the street. We've got to be willing to take it on with everything that we have.
You talked about homeless. This is a tweet from a woman. She posted this. She said, Job Corps actually saved my life. I was at the end of the road and had nowhere else to turn to. I couldn't afford to finish college. I was homeless at 17, working meaningless part-time jobs. This is the reality for so many people at Job Corps. And of course, she posted these photos right here of her being in the Job Corps. And let's be perfectly clear, Job Corps had some problems. There were some significant problems that had to be addressed. But is it smart to completely shut something down, or do you try to fix it?
Well, you know the answer to that. Whenever you are organizing big operations, there are going to be problems. There are going to be mistakes. There's going to be all kind of obstacles that get in the way of being able to do big things. Job Corps is a big thing. Started in 1964 under Lyndon Baines Johnson. It has turned so many people around. It has helped so many young people. It has created new opportunities to get back in school, to have a career, to look forward to being able to earn a living and a living for your family and all of that. And so Trump is out to undermine our success, the success of people of color and Black people in particular, and brown people, et cetera. He has made it very clear. He has literally pinpointed and focused on those things that help us to get out of poverty, help us to be educated, help us to be successful, help us to get training in the new technology. He's focused on all of these things. It's clear that when he talks about MAGA, he talks about taking back this country, he's talking about putting his foot on our necks and holding us down and making sure that we don't continue to progress. That's what it's all about. You can't paint this any other way. It is not about, a different philosophy about, pulling yourself up by your bootstraps. That's a bunch of crap. It's about whether or not you have opportunity, whether or not you're treated fairly, whether or not, what goes on in the selection of individuals, whether it's to enter jobs or to move up or to be on the board. It's about whether or not you're going to be fair and you're going to look at people in different ways instead of looking and saying, that person doesn't deserve this job. I don't want that person to have this job. I'm a racist. I'm against people of color being equal to me, as some whites would say. And so, Roland, we know this fight. You've been in this fight, and we know that we've got to confront it even in stronger ways than perhaps was confronted in the past. Thank God for the civil rights movement that taught us to hit the street, that taught us to be able to take the blows. Now, I want to tell you, Dr. Martin Luther King was a wonderful human being, practiced nonviolence. We're not a violent people. Trump is trying to goad us into violence. He is trying to get us into a point of anger and disgust that we hit the streets in a way that he can call in, the National Guard and be involved in, civil war. I know what he's trying to do. And so we've got to be smart. We've got to know how to fight. We've got to know how to articulate and identify what's wrong, who's the cause of it, but we can't be goaded into the kind of fight that he would turn the guns on us. I get it. I understand it.
When you look at polling, when you look at how people are answering questions, they're saying that Democrats are not meeting the moment. What you're saying is this has to escalate. What are you saying to Democratic leader Jeffries? What are you saying to Senator Chuck Schumer? What are you saying to the head of the DNC, Ken Martin? Because it seems as if that what they are doing is not resonating with people. When I hear people talk about fighters, I hear them mention your name. They mention AOC. They mention Jasmine Crockett. They mention Ayanna Pressley. And there is this feeling among lots of people. And I can tell you, I hear from lots of African Americans, they don't think that Democrats are doing enough to fight this fascist. They're saying that how could you call someone a fascist, but then show up to his speech on March 4th, joint sessions of Congress? How could you show up to his inauguration? So if that person is really a fascist, then you respond accordingly. Do you think that Democratic leaders should be doing more? And if so, exactly what?
Well, let me just say this. I kind of alluded to the fact that, you know, government is always not understood. And people don't really understand that there's nothing in the Constitution that says the president can't do whatever he wants to do. And that's what we got to get into people's head, is that the president of the United States of America, with these executive orders, are trying to undermine the Constitution. He's trying to do away with laws that have been made. And so we've got to fight them in the ways that we can. One of the things that members of Congress are doing, we all are holding town hall meetings in our districts and talking to people and explaining to them what is happening and trying to get them into the struggle to hit the streets. We can't just do it sitting at home and going on the internet. We've got to go back to some of the tactics that were used in the civil rights movement. Hakeem Jeffries is hitting the streets every weekend. He leaves here, he's raising money, so we have the money to fight them with. They are rich, they are billionaires. They've got all of this money and all of that literature and all of the time that they buy on television. People are believing the lies that they hear because they are constant. They hear these lies over and over again. The only way to overcome that is to raise money also and put the literature out, buy the time, and defy them and tell people the truth. So we have roles to play. The roles to play is members of Congress, use your platforms, talk, explain, teach, raise money. And for those of us who are willing to hit the streets, let's join them in hitting the streets. Let's get people to the town hall meeting. It is not as if Democrats are not doing anything. Democrats know that we've got things to do. Much of it costs a lot of money. And that money comes only if we work hard for it, we convince certain people, we beg for it, we leverage for it. But the billionaires who run with Trump are not going to get that money to us. And so we've got to tell not only our people, but the so-called progressives and liberals and all of those out there who are philosophically in line with us, that they've got to raise this money, because this is part of the struggle. Raising the money, putting the town halls together, on the street, doing the protests, getting your ministers to hold meetings so that they educate the people about the importance of the vote. We've got to look at the vote coming up. That's how we get rid of Trump. That's how we get rid of the right-wing conservatives. We got to vote, and we got to get people to do it. So all of this is a combination of work that not everybody sees. And when they say Democrats are not doing enough, they think, for example, we can arrest the president. We can't do it. They think, for example, that them having the majority does not count. Them having the majority means they stop our bills. But that's okay. We keep coming up with legislation because we're getting ready to have our legislation passed by the next president. We're getting ready to take over the primaries. We're doing all of these things. It's not any one thing. And it's not that you don't hear Hakeem Jeffries calling somebody SOB. I do that. I call them SOBs. You raise the money, and I'll do that, and I'll get in the street, and I will organize, I will protest, I will help to get people angry enough that they want to do something and resist what is going on now and get to the polls and vote so that we can take this country back from this low-down, dirty, no good, ornery man that now has the presidency.
All right, Congresswoman Maxine Waters, always great to have you. And listen, and please do me this favor. And this goes back even to my 2 shows on TV One. I have consistently said to the Congressional Black Caucus, to the last 5, 6 chairs, I've said to the communications people that we will make space for a Black Caucus member every single day on this show. But you know what the reality is? Only 4 or 5, maybe 6 consistently say yes. And so when I hear people, then what angers me, Congresswoman, is when I see CBC members run to MSNBC, but then don't decide to come do this show. I keep trying to tell them they're not gonna always call you. We will, I made it clear, we will put a member on every single day we're live. All they gotta do is say yes. So please let them know that. Because again, I mean, if the people never see folks on a consistent basis, they assume you're not doing anything.
That's right. You're absolutely right. I will remind our caucus. I will keep doing it. A lot of people are not comfortable. They want to say the right thing. They want to look right. They want to be sure that they're not going to, say what was not meant to be said in public. But you got to free yourself. And you got to give yourself permission to be whomever you think you are. And you got to say it, whether or not it is right or wrong at the time that you do it, you got to let it come out. And that's what some people have not, learned how to do. But I'm going to tell them, you feel comfortable with Roland Martin. He wants you on the show. It's an opportunity for you to talk truth to power. And so we want you to go. I'm going to do everything that I can to encourage that. Thank you so much, Roland.
And the last piece here, you can tell them this here. YouTube now has a weekly listing of the top 100 podcasts. And this podcast is in the top 50, and it is the only Black news podcast on the top 100. So if they think nobody's watching, let them know they're wrong.
I think they know it even if they haven't said it. Absolutely.
I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Robert, I want to go to you. I mean, again, there are issues with the program. That report was done talking about a lot of these issues. But when you're dealing with troubled youth, you're going to have troubles that comes with it. But then you got this fool running around here. Somebody, matter of fact, there are different clips. Somebody posted this clip here. Here's this fool in the Oval Office. This is when him and Elon were getting along, talking about how we need to be shifting money to trade schools. Listen to what the fool says.
Every 3 days we find another $100 million that was given. 2 days ago we found $200 million more. The money's given to them like gravy. I'd like to see the money go to trade schools, where people learn how to fix motors and engines, where people learn how to build rocket ships. Because, somebody has to build those rocket ships. Yeah. And I'd like to see trade schools set up, because you could take $5 billion plus hundreds of billions more, which is what's spent, and you could have the greatest trade school system anywhere in the world. And that's what.
So you're saying, but you just whacked the trade school.
I want people to understand something when President Trump says things. He's lying. I don't know how many times people have to see this and realize this. He's not telling the truth. And a couple of things on this point, that when we're talking about cutting this program for fiscal reasons, for budgetary reasons, this Republican quote-unquote big beautiful bill, which is really a big brutal lie, the BBL instead of the BBB bill, what we're really talking about is we're financing billionaires. We are saying that in order to pay for the moon mission that Elon wants to send off, we have to cut things like Job Corps. My little brother went to Job Corps. I've seen Job Corps change the lives of dozens of individuals who had no direction, who come out with skills. Now, the fact that we are cutting into these programs and SNAP programs and Meals on Wheels and the social safety net, while at the same time saying we're going to build a new F-47 and we're going to double the size of the Navy fleet, and we want to build an F-55, and we want to build a B-21 that costs $1 billion a piece. I think the American people have to understand that this is the time to stand up. As Congresswoman Waters just said, Dr. King could stand up to LBJ, to Strom Thurmond, to Bull Connor. Jesse Jackson could stand up to Ronald Reagan, to George W. Bush, and to everybody else. But we're somehow cowering at the feet of Donald Trump and Mike Johnson. That's where we're simply saying that we do not have the fight in us. Just 5 years ago, we just had the anniversary of the beginning of the George Floyd summer. We were in the street, en masse. We were changing laws. We were changing the global conversation around our issues around police shootings. Donald Trump is creating a George Floyd moment 3 or 4 times a day with the programs that he is cutting and what he's doing to destroy Black America. So it's time for us to realize that in this moment, they will do everything to distract us, everything to discourage us. But we have a history going back thousands of years to standing up to the powerful and deciding that this will be the moment that we will not take one step further back, and that has to happen now. We must, in the Senate, do everything that we can to kill this BBL Republican budget, which is only meant to destroy Black and brown communities.
Nola?
You know, the first thing that runs through my mind, today a report came out that 247,000 people alone in 1 week applied for unemployment.
Yep.
So what's going to happen to those young kids that don't have anywhere to go? You know, of the 4 or 5 buckets that they listed as to why they're getting rid of Job Corps, one of the reasons was security concerns. So, you know, as a security person, I am here to tell you, when you take opportunities away from a population, all that's going to do is increase the risk of having more security concerns. So the list of lies that he's, you know, that he's rolling out, and I think that are coming to him pretty much as he goes. He makes policy on the fly. They just don't hold up. But this unemployment issue, Roland, this is going to be a very real thing. And this government is not set up to handle it. They do not know how to govern. And all of this boomerang is going to come back and hit them in the face very quickly because there's no plan. The only plan is to destroy anything that has to do with Black people. His vengeance against us is so severe that it literally, you know, they talk about the Trump derangement syndrome. He clearly has some sort of Black people derangement syndrome, because I literally think this man goes to sleep thinking about us, wakes up thinking about us, and how he can hurt us, because what he does know is how we vote. So this is a punishment for how we vote, especially for Black women, because in that unemployment group, Black women right now, the most highly educated in the country, we are now among the most highly unemployed. So all of this is going to add up. And on the other side of the equal sign, it's going to be very ugly because they are not prepared for what's going to come.
Folks, speaking of not being prepared, at the House Oversight Subcommittee hearing, Massachusetts Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley condemned what she described as Donald Trump's targeted dangerous assault on nonprofit organizations, explicitly calling out his attacks on Harvard University, located in her district in Massachusetts. Well, she didn't hold back at all.
Thank you to our witnesses for being here today. What we are witnessing from occupant Trump, his administration, and Republicans writ large is not governance. It is a targeted, dangerous assault on the independence of our nonprofit organizations. We've seen these attacks take many forms, perhaps most visibly in my own district, the Massachusetts 7th, as the administration continues its unlawful campaign against Harvard University. Trump has threatened to revoke Harvard's tax-exempt status, freeze billions in federal funding for scientific research to save lives, might I add, and publicly vilify students and faculty, all part and parcel of his attacks on education. But let me make it plain. This isn't just about Harvard, and it's definitely not about government efficiency, the name of this subcommittee. This is about Trump and Republicans punishing people who disagree with them. It is about attacking nonprofits of all sizes that serve the vulnerable and marginalized and stand in the gap for our communities. It's about trying to intimidate every charity and nonprofit in this country and spark a fear that if you speak up, if you do something the Republicans don't like, you could be next. A hospital that provides abortion care, a local food pantry that feeds immigrants, or an advocacy group that fights for civil rights. Donald Trump is weaponizing our tax laws to attack nonprofits. At the same time, he is pushing for tax cuts for Elon Musk and billionaires. Ms. Yentel, can the president or executive branch legally revoke a nonprofit's tax-exempt status simply because it disagrees with that organization's lawful speech or mission?
They can't. The statute is very clear that that is illegal.
Thank you. Republicans think the answer is yes, but that would mean every nonprofit in America is just one tweet away from being targeted by the federal government. I'm proud that in the Massachusetts 7th, community-based organizations are speaking up and fighting back against Republican attacks, and I know they are doing it at risk of serious threat. Ms. Yentel, can you make plain what are the consequences to charities and nonprofits losing tax-exempt status?
Well, tax-exempt status is given to nonprofit organizations that do essential work to meet needs in their local communities in exchange for significant transparency and accountability. And if nonprofit organizations lose their tax-exempt status, it could create significant challenges for them to be able to do their work related to how and where they get their funding, and it could cause them to have to shut down their work altogether.
Their work, which is to the betterment of us all,
which is
to the collective, our shared constituents.
Yes.
Very good. Let's put this in perspective. Trump is firing government workers that administer programs like Head Start and Social Security, while also attacking nonprofits that provide resources and supports to vulnerable populations. Trump and his Republican cult do not care about helping people who are struggling. Instead, they want to make them suffer more. Now, before I yield back, let me ask the Republican witnesses if you all think Trump is right for revoking tax-exempt status for nonprofits for their political views. Raise your hand then if you think the Heritage Foundation, who wrote Project 2025, should also lose their tax-exempt status. Show of hands by the logic that's
I'm not aware
applied.
of any nonprofit that's had its status revoked.
Again, the question that I'm posing is, would you please raise your hand if you think the Heritage Foundation, who wrote Project 2025, should also lose their tax-exempt status? Show of hands.
It's a perfectly reasonable speech by a nonprofit.
So none of you. The shame and the sham of it all. Before I yield back, Ms. Yentel, I know that you have been harangued intensely throughout today's proceedings. Is there anything that you would like to set the record straight on or respond to in my remaining time?
Thank you, Congresswoman. I would like to use the remaining time to remind us all and every member of this committee of the vital, essential work that nonprofit organizations do in each of your communities for your constituents and the work that we do to support them in that work. Nonprofit organizations are local, they are transparent and accountable, they are nonpartisan by law and in practice, and they do essential work to meet the needs of all of your communities and all Americans. Thank you.
How you doing, Congresswoman?
Thank you. I yield back.
All right, folks, a little bit later, we're going to show you a showdown between Senator Cory Booker and that idiot Ted Cruz of Texas. And so lots more to break down, folks. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Don't forget to support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. You, of course, can support the work. And again, it's all about the work. And first and foremost, if you want to join via Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here. Or go to blackstarnetwork.com for that QR code. Then you can also send check and money order to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 2003 7-0196. PayPal R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo RM Unfiltered, Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We'll be right back.
Next on The Black Table with me, Greg Carr. We featured the brand new work of Professor Angie Porter, which, simply put, is a revolutionary reframing of the African experience in this country. It's the one legal article everyone, and I mean everyone, should read. Professor Porter and Dr. Valencia Watkins, our legal roundtable team, join us to explore the paper that I guarantee is going to prompt a major aha moment in our culture.
You crystallize it by saying, who are we to other people? Who are African people to others? Governance is our thing. Who are we to each other? The structures we create for ourselves, how we order the universe as African people.
That's next on The Black Table, here on the Black Star Network.
I'm Russell L. Honoré, Lieutenant General, United States Army, retired, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Millions of Americans, especially black women, Medicaid is more than just a program. It is a lifeline. It covers nearly 40% of all births in the U.S., often the only access to care many mothers have. Now, federal law guarantees just 60 days of postpartum coverage, and in states that haven't expanded Medicaid, that coverage can disappear right when the mothers need it the most. Now, Congress took a step forward, making it permanent for states to extend that coverage to a full year, but not every state has signed on. Now, a Republican-backed House budget threatens to slash Medicaid by $880 billion. Now, what's crazy is that they still swear they're not trying to cut Medicaid, but everything says they are trying to cut Medicaid. Illinois Congresswoman Robin Kelly joins us in studio. Glad to have you back here. And that's the thing that cracks me. Like, I've seen interviews on other networks. I've seen speeches. Oh no, we're not trying to cut Medicaid. I mean, Speaker, I'm gonna find a clip. Speaker Mike Johnson, Democrats, they're just lying. That's not what we're doing. So what the hell are they doing then?
Well, I was in the 26.5-hour markup in Energy and Commerce, and I'm on the healthcare subcommittee. That is what they're doing. They're lying, like you said. And it's, you know, Speaker Johnson, he comes, you know, Mr. Christian man, and then he's defending, you know, the most evil, cruel man, I think, on the earth. And it's just absolutely ridiculous. No, they're cutting. And in my district alone, out of 753,000 people, 300,000 people will lose their health care. Right next door to me, Jonathan Jackson, I think about 260,000. So just our two districts alone, almost 600,000 people will lose their health care.
We actually played a clip during that markup of one of the CBC members who was literally reading off how many people in each Republican district had Medicaid, and it was anywhere from 20 to 40%.
Oh, their districts, their people will lose more than ours.
Because they represent a lot of broke white people. Right. See, the reason I keep putting it that way, because anytime we talk about poverty in this country, people automatically think black. But the reality is, the Republican Party represents a lot of broke white people.
And my district is urban, suburban, and rural, so I know you're right. Yeah, I have 4,500 farms in my district, so you are correct. Their folks will lose more than us, but you know.
So how do you get them though to understand that? Because it trips me out anytime election comes around, and you will see these folks who will challenge black folks. Dems ain't done nothing for y'all. Why you voting against your interests? And I'm sitting there going, West Virginia is the brokest, most illiterate, federally dependent state in the union, and they vote solid red. And I'm like, they vote against their interests every single election.
Mississippi, yeah. I mean, they don't, I don't know what it is. Well, I think it's fear, prejudice. I think that plays a big role into it. But even the Congress people, why are you in office if you're not there to uplift people? Why are you doing this? Because they're scared too. You know, they're scared of primaries. They're scared of retaliation. It's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, I say every day, I'm not going to use this word, but it's so unbelievable and outrageous that they're doing this.
This is the one that gets me here: fraud, waste, abuse. Fraud, waste, abuse. And so here's Mike Johnson saying that. And on the flip side, I want to ask, have they still identified it? Y'all listen to this here.
No one has talked about cutting one benefit in Medicaid to anyone who's duly owed. What we've talked about is returning work requirements. So, for example, you don't have able-bodied young men on a program that's designed for single mothers and the elderly and disabled. They're draining resources from people who are actually do that. So if you clean that up and shore it up, you save a lot of money and you return the dignity of work to young men who need to be out working instead of playing video games all day. We have a lot of fraud, waste, and abuse in Medicaid. Just one tiny example. The estimate is $51 billion a year in Medicaid is lost to fraud. That's unconscionable. We now have, with the DOGE efforts and with new algorithms and with new oversight responsibilities and opportunities, we have ability to carve that out. We have a responsibility to do it. That estimate by some people, some estimates say that is very low. It's actually much higher than that. So we're.
Have you seen any evidence of that?
No. And Democrats care about waste, fraud, and abuse. There ain't that much waste, fraud, and abuse. That's their 3 code words.
Like, my whole deal is like, if you say it's, okay, show me.
No, they haven't shown us.
In fact, out of all that nonsense Elon was talking about, $2 trillion in cuts, they couldn't even find $100 billion. He just said there were $51 billion in Medicaid. So Medicaid would have been responsible for half of the fraud. And we got algorithm. Show me.
They haven't shown us a thing. Like I said, I was in committee for 26 and a half hours, stayed up 25 hours when we were all fighting back in the Rules Committee. They haven't shown a thing. As was said, they're lying. Just to keep it simple.
What do you make of your members on the other side? Y'all have nice terms. Y'all have to use, the gentle lady. I'm sorry, I could never be in Congress because Marjorie Taylor Greene was talking.
I've never used that.
And I literally be like, crazy ass over there. That's what Ro be doing. They be gaveling me all damn day. But the thing that gets me is to listen to now these fools, I ain't know that was in there. So you openly admitting you didn't read it. But then you defending your vote for it, but then say, man, we hope the Senate fixes it before it comes back to us.
The House Dems are fighting with the Senate Republicans. They do not agree. And of course, some of the Senate Republicans want more cuts. And then some are saying, Josh Hawley, political suicide, but he is saying it's morally not right. And then we'll see what Susan and Lisa Murkowski do. But they're not agreeing with each other. And as you see, Speaker is still defending the bill. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
What do you want folk watching and listening to do? Because the reality is, yes, it passed the House, but it has to go through the Senate. It may not pass. If it does, it's going to be a totally different bill, which then goes back to the House. Now you have the reconciliation process before they have to then vote again. And folk at home need to be doing something.
Yes. This is no time to stay on the sidelines. People have to make their voices heard, especially if you're represented by a Republican senator, if you're represented by a House member, you have to make your voices heard. That's why we're going in their districts. I went out of my district in a red district to have a town hall.
Is that because Republicans?
Because they're not.
They're not having it.
Right, because they're not having it. So a lot of us are doing that, going outside of our districts, and the town halls are full because because people are so upset that their voices are not being heard, and they keep saying these are paid Democrats. I ain't paying anybody to come to the town hall I did. They all came on their own.
Well, on that, before I go to my questions from Robert and Nolan, the thing that trips me out is when they say that they act like everybody in your district is not a Democrat.
No.
And so the reality is, if you have a town hall, you could have Republicans in your town hall who don't like what you're doing. So this idea that, if you're a Republican and the only people who are showing up are Republicans who agree with you is crazy. I forgot which one of the members, they restricted who could come in, that it had to show that you were constituent, and he still got his ass lit up because they were still constituents. And this is what I keep saying to people watching this show, whether you're black or not. I don't care if the person who won you didn't support. You are still a constituent.
That's right.
And they still should be responding to you.
That's right. And in my district, like I said, I have 4,500 farms. Most of my farmers are Republican. And there's a lot of buyer's remorse. They've been in my office. They're getting killed by, no more USAID, the tariffs. And if, this happens with SNAP, they said $230 billion, but it's $313 billion. So people can't eat. They don't go to the grocery store. So whatever grocery stores you stop at, they won't have as many people shopping and they won't buy as much food from the farmers. So we're all connected. You know, the people, corporate, the farmers, people will get laid off from the grocery stores because there won't be enough work. So, yeah, we can't keep saying the other person because eventually all of us are going to be the other person.
And look, I know you too nice. I know you way too nice. See, again, this is another reason why I could never, ever be elected, because I'm petty. No, I'm petty. No, if one of them farmers walked in my office, I'd be like, who your ass vote for?
They admitted it.
And then that's when y'all show the shirt. So we got 3 shirts we have on the show. Go ahead, pull the graphic up. One of our shirts is "Don't Blame Me, I Voted for the Black Woman."
Yeah.
That's one of them. The other one is Project 2025, Project crossed out. We got FAFO 2025. And the other one is MAGA chose between woke or broke. They chose broke. That was an Anthony Scaramucci quote. I had to put it on a T-shirt. But again, that's the thing that kills me. Oh, so y'all voted for him, and the fool told you he was going to do the tariff game again. And y'all didn't remember that it cost us $25 billion last time for the tariffs. There were farmers that actually were filing for bankruptcy. And so now after the fact, now you complain about the tariffs because you're getting killed. Now you complain about Medicaid. Now you complain about they want to kill Affordable Care Act and you ain't got no health care. Now you want to complain about SNAP, they want to cut that, but you voted for them. And now they're asking you, oh, please, Congresswoman, please, can you save me?
But everyone says we didn't think he was going to do it. And that your shirt said, we tried to tell you. He always does what he says he's going to do. You know,
that's the one that kills me. I was in San Francisco at the NBA All-Star game, and his brother, I was walking on the street, his brother stopped me. He was like, yeah, bro, but I ain't really think. I was like, what are you talking? The man said, I'm going to give cops 100% immunity. So now you shocked? I'm deporting people. I'm stopping people from coming to the country. Mm-hmm. I'm like, unlike other folk, he literally said what he's going to do, and now you tripping. And I know you got to listen to them because they constituents, but I'd be cussing. I'd be cussing.
But that's just like all the layoffs, like HHS. They were Democrat and Republican. They didn't look to see how you voted.
Nope.
He took the chainsaw to everybody.
Yep.
Everybody. So those are people with no jobs, no health care, you know.
Robert, what's your question?
Congressman, you do an outstanding job representing your district. It's an honor to be on with you.
Man, stop sitting here saying all that stuff. You work for Congressman Jonathan Jackson. Hell, she already know that. You
She's outstanding.
Oh, my God, you're doing an amazing job.
That's how you
do an amazing job. Lord,
I'm saying that because it's going to be a hard question.
You butter me up.
Exactly. That's the idea. Roland can't let anybody else just do the butter. So when we talk about these Trump policies, you mentioned the fact that so many farmers in your district are going to be deleteriously affected by it. When you look at the largest import and export partners of Illinois, it's Canada and Mexico. When you look at much of the economic traffic that goes through Illinois, we're talking about China. If Trump's tariffs just went into place, he's already changed his tariff policy over 53 times in his first 130 days. We will see Illinois go into receivership. And if you take that in addition to what's in the quote-unquote big, beautiful bill, the big, beautiful, or the big, brutal lie, whatever bill it is.
My big, beautiful bill.
Yeah, I also want to mention people, that came from a quote he made on Howard Stern in 1996 when he was talking about big, beautiful, something else that started with a B. And now that's the U.S. budget. That's the side point.
Sick.
What do you think has to happen messaging-wise to help those farmers understand that, look, if your guy passes everything he wants, you are going to be out of work and homeless by the end of this year?
You know, that's how we're actually going to these places, to be face-to-face and actually having meetings, and we are continuously informing people, and like we say, we're litigating, legislating, and communicating, and we're not supposed to, but a little bit of agitating too, you know, because they have to stand up.
We had Congresswoman Maxine Waters. She said there needs to be a whole lot of agitation.
Well, You had Auntie Mag, so. I know. But, you know, we're talking to them, telling them that, you know, this is the way it's going to be. And if you don't speak up, if you don't complain, if you don't make your voices heard, like people call Democrats, what are y'all going to do? And like I said, have you called Republicans? You know, they're the ones, you know, we only needed 4 or 3 to side with us, and they're the ones not doing it. We're doing everything we can. We're again, that's how we win ENC, 26.5 hours. We threw every amendment we could throw at them, even amendments that they voted for. Like that was my legislation that extended the postpartum Medicaid period from 60 days to a year. And they voted for it last year, and this year when I raised it again to codify it, they all voted no. So stuff they voted for because Elon Musk told them to. Elon Musk told them to take it out the bill. So, you know, there's a part, and again, like Roland said, you can't say it, but like I'll say some people say maybe people have to live in there.
And just
well, what I've said on the show, what I've said, I said this really after the inauguration. I literally said, I hate to say it, I hate that we have to deal with it, but some people are going to have to get fired. They're going to lose. They're going to have to live through and experience the results of their stupidity with how they voted. For them to then go, damn, maybe I should have.
We've had a lot of buyer's remorse.
Maybe Kamala wasn't so bad.
We've had a lot of buyer's remorse. So many members have said that. People calling us.
And just real quick follow-up on that point. You mentioned that the Republicans were only able to pass this, this big, brutal lie by 1 vote. And that's because 8 of the last 10 members of Congress to die in office have been Democrats.
Right.
Can you speak to the need for generational change, both in the House and in the Senate, and the importance of kind of bringing in new blood that will be able to advocate zealously and be there when there's a 1-vote majority?
Well, I think we always have to bring in new blood, but also I think we need the Maxine Waters of the world and the Jim Clyburns of the world also. I think it needs to be a mix of people, but, you know, each Congress, you know, infusing the, you know, Maxwell Frost and, you know, some of the other people that, Lauren Underwood, some of the other people that have come in. But I think we need a mix of people because, like, when I came in, I wasn't young like Maxwell, but I liked that I had John Lewis and Elijah Cummings and all of those guys, Cleaver, to learn from. I think that was a good thing too. They mentored us, like we're mentoring some of the, you know, other people. But yes, I think it's always good to have an infusion of new blood, new ideas, new energy. But I know I work hard, and I know Maxine Waters works hard, and is not outworked. So
my position on that, Nola, get ready, which means turn your damn microphone on. Nola, yeah. Is listen, there are members who are in their 70s and 80s who are vigorous, who can do the work. Yeah, my parents are 78, and they out there doing stuff that a lot of 40 and 50 years can't do. But if you are a member and you consistently ill and you are, it's hard to get around. I mean, that's a whole different conversation. It's just like if I hear Senator Fetterman complain one more time about, oh, my Senate duties and they want me there for a vote. You ran. That's actually part of your job to show up to vote on what you think is meaningless. And if you don't think that's important, go get another job. I mean, I don't care what it is.
And like for us, we're so tight. We need everybody to come in. And we had someone come in that just had surgery, someone that just had a baby. They all flew back, you know, to be there. So we need everybody because it's so tight. And actually, the day we lost by 1 vote is when Representative Conley died.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nola.
Congresswoman, thank you so much for all the work that you were doing. And, you know, it's a very interesting conversation about buyer's remorse and FAFO. But, you know, I'm seeing a trend where there are a lot of white males who are kind of congregating together as if the hope for the party can only be through a white male, as if, well, we tried this black lady, it didn't work out. So then, you know, we have to go back to the thing that we know. And that thing might be the only thing to get the farmers and the people that have buyer's remorse to possibly vote Democrat. I actually do not believe that. I think that is a mistake, and for the party to pivot that way. So my question is for you. When they come in and they have conversations with you about buyer's remorse, what do those conversations look like? Are you talking about race? Are you talking about gender? Because those things really did factor into it. I mean, yes, there is a history of deep red Republicans voting against their own interests. But right now, in the age of Trump, I personally believe that there's a element of cultism, the way that they will respond and do whatever he says, no matter how he treats them. That's not an easy thing to penetrate. Right. And then that's also built on top of racism and white supremacy and all of that. So how do you see a way to penetrate through that if the leader turns out to be another person of color?
Well, the buyer's remorse I'm speaking about has really come from Republicans more so than Democrats. I said it, farmers that have been in my office and other people, not so much from Democrats, but yes, I think fear and racism, prejudice, whatever you want to say, went into why Vice President Harris didn't become President Harris. But I think that the way this is going down, I will be so shocked if we don't flip the House. If they keep going like this, we could even, flip the Senate, who knows. But it's hard to say what people do, because I agree with you, that is like a cult. There are still people saying, give them a chance. Give them a chance. And, when you look at some of his rallies and different things like that, or even things I've seen on TV, there's people of color, Black people, Latinos, still taking up for him too. And I just cannot, well, we have, people on the other side of the aisle, Black reps, male, voting for all the policies. It's unbelievable.
It is, and I'm going to play a couple of clips next. The meeting here of the German Chancellor in the Oval Office today was just pure ignorance, literally insulting him even when it comes to tomorrow being D-Day. But that's what happens when we have. I'm trying not to cuss. I've been. It's like it's
You've been
like,
good. You've been good.
No, I know, but I was like, I travel around the country and folks be like, Roland, you got to stop cussing. I'm like, yeah, but anytime I bring up that twice impeached, criminally convicted felon in chief, cuss words just flow. So I asked it well, folks, again, y'all have y'all homework when it comes to this, what you call it, the BBL?
Yeah, the big brutal lie.
Okay, all right.
It is sucking out everything from the poor and injecting it into the back pockets of the rich.
So y'all know what the work y'all have to do. Congresswoman Robin Kelly, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for having me.
All right, folks, got to go to break. We come back. I'm going to show y'all some of that craziness in the Oval Office with the German Chancellor. Also, Senator Cory Booker, let's just say he was a little fired up in responding to that crazy fool, Ted Cruz of Texas. Damn, I can't stand. He's one of my two damn senators. Lord, have mercy. Trust me. I could be deaf, dumb, blind. They could roll me in, and I would never check his name. That's just not gonna happen. We'll be right back. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
This week on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie, we're talking all things faith, family, and fatherhood. Men step in and out of our lives in a variety of ways as fathers, uncles, cousins, and different ways in which we enjoy their company and presence, and in other ways when they get on our nerves. This week on our show, we'll be talking about what it means to be a father, how women can support the men in their lives, as well as how do we heal the wounds that we've had from poor conversation, lack of desire, and all of the other ways that we sometimes as women check out and cause our men to feel emasculated. That's all this week on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Next on The Black Table with me, Greg Carr, we featured the brand new work of Professor Angie Porter, which, simply put, is a revolutionary reframing of the African experience in this country. It's the one legal article everyone, and I mean everyone, should read. Professor Porter and Dr. Valencia Watkins, our legal roundtable team, join us to explore the paper that I guarantee is going to prompt a major aha moment in our culture.
You crystallize it by saying, who are we to other people? Who are African people to others? Governance is our thing. Who are we to each other? The structures we create for ourselves, how we order the universe as African people.
That's next on the Black Table, here on the Black Star Network.
On the next Get Wealthy with me, Deborah Owens, have you ever had $1 million idea and wondered how to bring it to life? Well, it's all about turning problems into opportunities. On our next Get Wealthy, you'll learn of a woman who identified the overload bag syndrome, and now she's taking that money to the bank through global sales in major department stores.
And I was just struggling with 2 or 3 bags on the train. And I looked around on the train and I said, you know what? There are a lot of women that are carrying two or 3 bags.
That's right here on Get Wealthy, only on Black Star Network.
We begin tonight with the people who are really running the country right now. Now, Trump is often wrong and misleading about a lot of things, but especially about history. Donald Trump falling in line with President Elon Musk.
In the wake of the unsettling news that MSNBC has canceled Joy Ann Reid's primetime show, The Readout, Roland Martin and the Black Star Network would like to extend an invitation to all of the fans of Joy Ann Reid's MSNBC show to join us every night to watch Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming on the Black Star Network for news, discussion of the issues that matter to you, and the latest updates on the twice impeached, criminally convicted felon-in-chief Donald Trump and his unprecedented assault on democracy, as well as co-president Elon Musk's takeover of the federal government. The Black Star Network stands with Joy Ann Reid and all folks who understand the power of Black voices in media. We must come together and never forget that information is power. Be sure to watch Roland Martin Unfiltered weeknights, 6 p.m. Eastern at youtube.com/Roland S. Martin or download the Black Star Network app.
This week on The Other Side of Change.
We are here talking about the unfortunate case of 30-year-old Adriana Smith, who was diagnosed and pronounced as brain dead at 9 weeks pregnant and is being kept alive by the state to carry this pregnancy out to full term without any input from her family. It's a really harrowing example of the lack of bodily autonomy we have in a post-war world, and we're going to dream bigger. Join us on The Other Side of Change, only on the Black Star Network.
This is Tamala Mann.
And this is David Mann. And you're watching Roland Martin
Unfiltered.
It must be embarrassing to be a world leader, and then when you come and meet with the occupant of the Oval Office, he says really dumb, stupid stuff. German Chancellor Merz was in there today, and I love how petty he was. He presents Trump a certificate of his grandfather being a German citizen. You knew that was him trying to let his ass know you a tether. You are the you are immigrant child. Listen to this, y'all.
This is the birth certificate of Donald Trump's grandfather, born in 1869, close to Bad Dürkheim, right? Yeah. That's called and his Christian name was Friedrich.
Right. That's serious German.
Serious
right?
German name.
That's serious German. Bad Dürkheim is serious German. But I want to thank you very much for, first of all, I want to thank you for that. That's
my
beautiful.
pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you again.
Fantastic. We'll put it up in a place of honor.
Yep.
I don't know, maybe we can, let's see.
You know damn well he ain't like being reminded that your ass, you and your family really ain't from here. But to show you how stupid, how really stupid this man is, and y'all, I don't mean like casual stupid. I mean, Donald Trump really is a stupid individual. He made this crack about D-Day coming up. It's some. Do y'all understand what would happen if Biden or Obama had literally insulted an American ally like this dumbass did? And the German Chancellor had to respond to him in a nice, cordial, but I think I'm sitting across from a dumbass move. Listen to this.
And I'm here, Mr. President, to talk with you later on how we could contribute to that goal. And we all are looking for measures and for instruments to bring this terrible war to an end. And may I remind you that we are having June 6th tomorrow. This is D-Day anniversary, when the Americans once ended a war in Europe. And I think this is in your hand in specific, in ours.
That was not a pleasant day for you?
No, that was not a pleasant.
This was not a great day.
In the long run, Mr. President, this was the liberation of my country from Nazi dictatorship.
That's true.
So,
that's true.
And we know what we owe you. But this is the reason why I'm saying that America is again in a very strong position to do something on this war and ending this war. So let's talk about what we can do jointly, and we are ready to do what we can. And you know that we gave support to Ukraine, and that we are looking for more pressure on Russia. The European Union did, and we should talk about that.
We will talk about it, and
Yeah.
you know, it's good.
Nola, you don't sit here and say, "Man, what a good day for y'all." That wasn't a good day for you. This man is uncouth, Nola.
Uncouth is a very nice way to word it. I think Chancellor Merz was very composed. He was very European in a way that, you know, he schooled Donald Trump on multiple things. And I just want to point out, Donald Trump mentioned, you know, a very German name like Durkheim. If he knows anything about Emile Durkheim, which I probably doubt he was talking about, just FYI, he was French, but I'm going to go back to Merz and that comment. You know, it just shows that Trump is a very ignorant man. He's very unintelligent. He is not a curious person. He's not interested in learning. You know, probably, I can't say for the first time we have someone in the Oval Office. I mean, there have been some American presidents who just aren't curious. They just sit there and occupy the office. But he tries to come off as intelligent. You know what I mean? It's like the person who tries to seem a certain way, and they try to impress you, and you can see right through it. But enough is enough. I mean, the way that this man continuously embarrasses the entire country in the Oval Office. I literally just read something that said that the United States that our reputation is less favorable in China. The first time in history this has happened. So things like this has real consequences. You know, when you have someone in the Oval Office who doesn't know what they're talking about in terms of international affairs, global history, foreign policy, all of these things have consequences, and that's what I'm really concerned about. As we talked about the travel bans earlier, again, these things have consequences. These countries, and I want to talk about Afghanistan specifically, and then I'm done.
Well, actually, hold on one second. I'm gonna come back to that in a moment, but I want to go to Robert here on that particular point. A toddler is literally sitting there. I mean, you don't insult an ally. Man, it wasn't a good day for y'all.
Well, welcome to a segment I call Too Much Information with Robert. This wasn't accidental. He wasn't being dumb. He wasn't being obtuse. The Chancellor made a power play on Trump, and that was his payback. He was being petty as normal. Prince's grandfather, Friedrich Drumpf, was actually born in 1869 in Bavaria. What was going on during this period of time? You were going through German unification with Otto von Bismarck. After 1,000 years of the Holy Roman Empire, and then the Confederation, the North Rhine under Napoleon, you had a system where Germany had had ultra-nationalism that was unifying together, and therefore you had a series of wars that Friedrich Trump was born into. When he reached the age of 20 in 1889, he decided he was going to leave and immigrate to America. He was a draft dodger. He was trying to avoid conscription into the Bavarian army to serve the German government at the exact same time that Hitler was being born. This comes into play later. So when we talk about this, Trump's relationship to the Germans, he's not coming from a place of simply not knowing their history. It's about knowing their history all too well. His grandfather was a German ultranationalist. He was born into the same political thinking of Adolf Hitler. He was on the same side of the argument as Hitler at that point, as Hitler was at that point in time. So when you're looking at President Trump's opinion of what he sees as opposition, who now leads the German government, when he says that wasn't a good day for you, he was essentially saying that the wrong guys won the war. We need to realize these things are not happening in a vacuum. We keep saying he's dumb. You're dumb enough to beat the entire Republican Party, dumb enough to become president of the United States, dumb enough to get to be accused of hundreds of years worth of felonies and billions of dollars worth of debt, dumb enough to get himself elected again and take over essentially the world government. Yeah. Maybe he ain't as dumb as you think, and we need to realize that deeper games are being played.
No, he is dumb. He can be dumb. And a lot of Americans can be dumb, and the Republican Party can all be dumb, and then we elect a fool in the Oval Office. The issue of Russia and Ukraine did come up here, Nola. And again, this is where the German Chancellor had to educate this fool about this very issue, because, as I played earlier, he's trying to say, hey, we can do more to actually end this war. Listen.
With you later on how we could contribute to that goal. And we all are looking for measures and for instruments to bring this terrible war to an end. And may I remind you that we are having June 6th tomorrow. This is D-Day anniversary, when the Americans once ended a war in Europe. And
so I wanted to play that because we knew what happened when Afghanistan, the war just going on and on and on, finally drawn this thing to a close. The German chancellor literally sitting here saying, okay, I need you to step the hell up, but you don't want to do that because, frankly, Trump spends more time crapping on Zelensky in Ukraine because he's literally in Putin's pocket.
Yeah, 1,000%. And I just want to, clarify something. I actually don't think Donald Trump is dumb. And I'm using my words very specifically when I said I think he's ignorant and uncurious. I actually don't think it's that deep with him. My entire dissertation is about Trump. I am a Trump watcher. I understand his words. I study them. I understand what he does know, the things that he's interested in, and it's not very much. So if he has a deep understanding of international relations regarding Germany's history like that, I would be absolutely 1,000% surprised. I think the things that he's good at bullying, right? He's good at playing a version of the dozens, but I just don't think that there is a lot of substance there. And to the point of Russia and Ukraine, in a way that Chancellor Merz brought in the fact that, hey, America stepped in, and this is how this day was won, because America stepped in, they stepped up and did what needed to be done. And what I also think that the chancellor is getting at is we just can't sit on the sidelines. Like today, Trump had made a comment about sometimes you just got to let them fight it out, Well, actually, no. In this particular situation, they have been fighting it out for years. And how do I know that? Because I have been talking about it from day one. I don't think that he has any interest, again, going back to his uncurious nature, to the fact that he doesn't even want daily briefings. He just doesn't have the interest to be a president of the United States.
Like I said, that boy dumb. That boy dumb.
I mean,
we already know he can't read.
I just think he's ignorant. I mean, you know.
Okay, fine. You can call it ignorant. You can call it. What's your other one? Uncurious. Well, you could be ignorant, uncurious. That boy dumb. Joe Madison always said you got to put it where the ghost can get it. Make it plain. That boy is dumb. And let's be real clear. Only a white man / orange man in America could get to the point where he is, because you know what? White folks in this country bought his BS. He treated the presidency, he treated the campaign like it was The Apprentice, and these fools actually believe he was a successful businessman. They fell for the okie doke, and now they are and now they are complaining, and they running to people like Congresswoman Robin Kelly. Can y'all help me? And again, they real nice. That's why every time I see one of these folk getting sent back to the country, and they say I supported Trump, I go thoughts and prayers. Thoughts and prayers. Yeah. Every time I see one of these folks who got fired lose their job, but I supported Trump, I go thoughts and prayers. I have absolutely no sympathy for them, because we all told them it was all there, and they still voted for that dumb, uncouth, ignorant, unserious fool. That's who he is. And we've now had to watch this back and forth between this other fool, Elon Musk, who must have had a ketamine attack, as they are sitting here going back. Now this fool Elon calling for Trump to get impeached. Trump is threatening to pull all his government contracts. So now we got the world's richest man, who's a drug addict, going against this complete fool who wears a diaper, who poops in his pants because too much Adderall, allegedly. And we got all that going on, and I'm sitting there going, are y'all serious? I mean,
Well, on this episode of The Real Housewives of the White House, apparently what had happened was Elon Musk had started knocking down Stephen Miller's wife. And then when Elon Musk left 6 days ago, Stephen Miller's wife left with him, because people believe she may or may not be one of Elon's brood now. And that is what facilitated...
Well, she was married to Dracula.
And that may have facilitated the beginnings of these falling outs. Steve Bannon started talking about this over a month ago, where he said Elon will be out. So this was part of that Stephen Miller, Steve Bannon cabal that decided that they could not execute their full ultranationalist agenda. Now, it's not that Elon was the good person in this situation. Elon essentially put the American government into a point where he is too big to fail. We have astronauts on the International Space Station right now. We cannot get them without Elon Musk.
Oh, Elon, right. Matter of fact, I think he announced he's pulling his rocket. I mean, this is his other dude said. This other dude said, President versus Elon, who wins? My money's on Elon. Trump should be impeached and J.D. Vance should replace him. Elon goes, yes. Listen, look, my mama told me a long time ago, when Nola, when two crazy ass white men are fighting, don't get in the middle of it.
That's very specific.
Listen, I pop my popcorn, honey. She is ready, because this is juicy. And I am dead serious. Like, this is so interesting to me. But, Elon was very honest about why he backed Trump, because he knew he would have been in jail. Like, he was very upfront and honest about that. So when he looks around, he would have been in jail. He would have had to account. Right. He had to be accountable for a lot of the things that he was doing, right? Because he was kind of like operating with impunity, pretty much. So he understood that he had to align with Donald Trump to keep his interests safe. Okay, and so anybody, and I know Stevie Wonder saw this coming. I mean, there were bets being taken. I had 3 months. I'm a little over 2.5 months. I mean, we knew this relationship would not last. We have two egomaniacs.
Because they had not said, I just called to say I love you. That ain't happening. It ain't no. Look at this one here. Time to drop the really big bomb. Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. This is the real reason they have not been made public. Mark this post for the future. The truth will come out. I ain't got no problem with all this, Nola. You said Stevie Wonder, but again, I'm just sitting here, and all the other media going crazy. I'm just sitting there saying, please, by all means, continue.
I want Elon to be in such a drug stupor where he actually admits what he did to the election. That's what I'm waiting on. That's what I want him to reveal, because I feel like he's 10 seconds from doing that. And so I think he saw what happened, you know, the power of the people. And at the end of the day, it's liberals who buy his products, right? It's liberals who are, you know, very supportive of what he wants to do in space. You know, he, in many ways, he went against his own interests, and he saw that in a very real way. And Tesla checked him in a very real way. So a lot of this backpedaling, I actually don't know how much I believe this is actually real. I feel like we need to see more, but, you know, Trump is very vindictive. He probably beats you in petty, Roland. I'm not certain, but this is going to be ugly before it gets fixed. And Steve Bannon is having a field day, honey. He out there, he cannot stand Elon Musk, so he's having a field day.
Well, again, when you got two idiots going back and forth, you let both of them implode.
Well, my prediction, I think we'll see President J.D. Vance and Elon back in the White House sooner rather than later.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, the tech bros.
Oh, Lord.
The tech bros, they have a different agenda.
Well,
which is pretty scary, actually.
Oh, crazy as hell. Congresswoman, time for the Crockett Chronicles. While these two egomaniacs are going back and forth, Congresswoman Crockett was like, I told you.
It is interesting that we're talking about bypassing Congress. It seems like that's all that has happened, actually, this Congress. In fact, it's why we've had to spend so much time in courts. And thank God that we at least have one branch of government that has decided not to abdicate their duties and has decided that there are things such as, you know, impoundment. And so when Congress does make a decision or does sign something into law or has been signed into law by a president, that you can't just bring in your good little friend who helped you get elected to the tune of $300 billion or $300 million and say, hey, guy, you get to do whatever you want to, despite what these duly elected people have done. But I digress. But I am going to get back to Elon, because Elon is looming over every single Doge hearing. You know why? Because that's supposedly what Elon was heading up. But now they don't want to talk about Elon, because Elon now is a little upset. There's a family spat that's obviously going on, and it is going to play out, it seems like, all over Twitter. But nevertheless, let's talk about some of the things that we should be talking about. And you know what? Every time I come in here, I really do wonder, what is the point? Like, why are we here? Because it doesn't seem like we're doing efficiency, right? Like, have we seen Elon? No. Have we seen anybody that works for Doge? No. But we're in the Doge subcommittee and we're talking to everybody but the Doge people. So to hear the comments about Stacey Abrams, it really got me going. And a lot of times when we come into this hearing room, it's all about politics. And it made me think that there was an issue most likely with Stacey, because someone actually brought up the fact that Stacey has run for governor a couple of times. And it seems like there's a gubernatorial race that's coming up in Georgia, and nobody knows whether or not Stacey is going to run. So why not muddy the water if we can to hopefully keep a strong Black woman down? But again, I digress. So let's talk about the things that we could be talking about while we sit here in the Doge committee. It seems like we could be talking about things like efficiency or oversight. When announcing this hearing, the chairwoman stated the Doge subcommittee would, quote, continue bringing long overdue transparency and accountability to those who abuse tax dollars. But so far this Congress, Republicans have focused their oversight responsibilities on things like defunding Big Bird, as well as attacking, of course, trans kids, because they're really the big threat that we have. We could be talking about how the Trump administration is ignoring these court orders, supporting American citizens, or targeting members of Congress for prosecution, or how Trump signed an order deregulating the cryptocurrency industry just as his family launched a digital currency. We could be having a hearing on how Trump fired members of the National Labor Relations Board for bringing a suit against Elon Musk, or how the Trump administration dismantled the Office of the Federal Contract Compliance while the office was investigating Tesla for alleged racial harassment, or how Trump dropped lawsuits against numerous large companies after they donated to his inaugural fund. We could have a hearing on whether Trump violated the emoluments clause when he not only, it seemed like he asked for a $400 million jet from a foreign government. Trump has put a for sale sign on the lawn of the White House and has allowed wealthy donors to dictate how the government operates. That's what we should be having a hearing about, but nope. They're here attacking nonprofits that deliver food to seniors and disabled folk, provide childcare and elder care for working families, job training for teens, and shelter for the unhoused. The Republicans and their witnesses have accused nonprofits of being, quote, radical and, quote, addicted to government money. And listen, I try to find agreement where I can. So I am going to say that I absolutely do agree with that statement to a certain extent, because there is a nonprofit by the name of the Heritage Foundation. And last time I checked, the Heritage Foundation, they are the authors of Project 2025. And we are living through the hell of Project 2025 right now. And something tells me that that's a bit of a partisan thing, because they said it was the conservative playbook. So as far as I'm concerned, I don't know why we would ever look at the Heritage Foundation and think that it's anything but radical and, quote, addicted to government money potentially. So Ms. Yentl, before I do that, I'm gonna come to you because I wanna make sure that I get these things on record. I have a unanimous consent, Madam Chair. It says Donald Trump allegedly asked aides whether Elon Musk's Doge promises were all bull, and then you know what the rest of it is. Unanimous consent?
Without objection.
Thank you so much. I have another one from CBS News. Despite Trump's promised cuts, U.S. spent more than $200 billion more in the first 100 days than last year. If some reason we focused on some efficiency, we may have more money to work towards this deficit that some of my colleagues say that they're concerned about. And I guess, Ms. Yentl, I'm gonna run out of time, because if we were gonna focus on this deficit, then maybe you wouldn't have your own friends coming out and talking about how we're gonna have to lift the debt ceiling $5 trillion, because how else can we pay for the billionaires to keep more money in their pockets? Thank you, and I will yield.
That's how you read them. We come back, we're gonna deal with something come out of the education department. Speaking of dumb, we put a wrestling executive over the education department. Not smart. Oh, I'm sorry. He's unserious. He's an idiot. Idiot. I call him uncouth. All right, we're going to deal with that when we come back. Don't forget to support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. If you want to contribute to the show via Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here. That's the QR code there. I'll go to blackstarnetwork.com. You can also send a check and money order to make a check mail payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 2003 7-0196. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. And download the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. We'll be right back.
Next on The Black Table with me, Greg Carr. We featured the brand new work of Professor Angie Porter, which, simply put, is a revolutionary reframing of the African experience in this country. It's the one legal article everyone, and I mean everyone, should read. Professor Porter and Dr. Valencia Watkins, our legal roundtable team, join us to explore the paper that I guarantee is going to prompt a major aha moment in our culture.
You crystallize it by saying, who are we to other people? Who are African people to others? Governance is our thing. Who are we to each other? The structures we create for ourselves, how we order the universe as African people.
That's next on The Black Table, here on the Black Star Network.
Bruce Smith, creator and executive producer of The Proud Family, Louder and Prouder, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Donald Trump wants to gut the education department. What does that mean for first-generation students? There's a couple of programs called the TRIO and Gear Up programs that supports first-generation students in gaining college admission. Well, again, they're trying to fight to save these programs. Kimberly Jones, president of the Council for Opportunity in Education, and Tommy Walls, director of Alumni Relations and Career Opportunities at COE. They both joined me in the studio, and so glad to have y'all here. First of all, explain to people who have no idea what COE is.
So thanks for having us here. COE, we are a national membership organization that represents the interests of first-generation low-income students who are being served by the federal TRIO program.
Now, is it first-generation low-income students or first-generation and low-income students?
Depends on the program, but by and large, 2/3 of all of our students are both first-generation to college as well as low-income, which is federally defined as 150% of federal poverty guidelines.
You know, I was having a debate. I can't remember with somebody. I don't know whether it was on social media somewhere, and I kept trying to tell these fools that yes, even in 2025, we are still seeing first-generation people going to. I know what it was when I was debating them fools talking about the housing initiative when they got mad because these idiots were talking about that Vice President Kamala Harris's proposal to help folks when they come to housing. When she said first generation, they were like, "See, she's talking about immigrants." I was like, "No, fool, she's talking about the first generation of people to own a home." I said, just like you have first generation of people who are going to college. That doesn't mean immigrants. That means that they're the first of their, in their family line, the generation to go to college. That's what it means.
Their parents do not have a college degree, yes.
How many people are we talking about?
So currently, TRIO serves about 870,000 students nationwide. We have 6 million alumni that we've produced over our 60-plus year history. And we are serving students in every single state, several of the U.S. territories. We are every place the American flag flies.
When you say serving, what does that mean?
So TRIO, and Tommy can speak to this as well, he is an alum of our programs, but we provide a compendium of services. So we know what financial aid is, right? That's the money to go to school. TRIO is the resource to help you use that financial aid. Everything from study skills, what colleges to apply for, what aid to get, what aid to turn down, what college major should you look at, what kind of jobs should you be preparing for in college. And so we're that, you know, that extra support that helps a student not just get into college, but then get through it and to graduate.
All right.
Yeah.
Your turn.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm Tommy Walls. I am a TRIO alum from Marquette University. Participated in Upward Bound, Student Support Services, and the Ronald E. McNair program. These programs were a lifeline to my life. It changed me in so many ways, academically, personally, professionally. I wouldn't have been here without the program.
So what's the total annual expenditure and what's at stake?
So currently TRIO is funded at $1.2 billion annually. And that's, you know, in the larger scheme of things, it may not sound like a lot of money, but that's lifeblood to our communities. And we know that if these programs are eliminated, you'll be wiping out opportunity for hundreds of thousands of students.
Absolutely. Questions, Robert, you first.
Thank you so much for the work that both of you do. Congratulations on the success that you've had. And when we're talking about these quote unquote waste, fraud, and abuse that they say that they're cutting, downsizing, I think about the military budget often. The fact that you have the M10 Booker, the light tank, they spent $10 billion developing and just canceled it. We never got, I think we got 8 of them for $10 billion. Or some of the other places they would. When we're doing these discussions with the public to make them understand that this isn't the place to cut, what are the arguments people need to be making? How can we win the messaging battle on these fights?
That's a fantastic question. Thank you. First of all, the Department of Education is one of the smallest federal agencies. And so in terms of shrinking our footprint, in terms of how much money we're spending, you're not going to save a whole lot with the Department of Ed. And even if we do save money now, it is very short-sighted about where we'll be in the future. 20 years ago, in the year 2000, the United States ranked second globally in higher education. Today, we're 18th. Other countries have doubled and tripled down on what they're doing because they want to compete with us. And so if we are not competing, we will definitely be left behind globally. But even individually, students who get a college degree earn $1 million more over their lifetime. They have better health outcomes. They have lower unemployment rates. The list goes on and on. And so, and even 6 years from now, according to the Georgetown Center for Education and the Workforce, in just 6 years, in 2031, 66% of the jobs of the future will require a bachelor's degree.
Oh, I had a follow-up. So
that's what I was waiting. I know you had a follow-up.
I had to make
I was like, all right, come on, ask your question.
Look, I mean, in your house, I can't get the big piece of chicken.
Let's go.
But on that point, education is the ephemeral causeway to success in this country. My father was a sharecropper in Georgia. My mom grew up in Haiti, and I'm here talking to you. That's because of the power of education.
Absolutely.
But what we're seeing is conservatives continuously attacking not just higher education, but the concept of education, almost making the argument that education is a corrupting and destructive force and justifying these cuts. When people are hearing these arguments coming so heavily from many of these social media influencers, people on the political right, how can we win this argument argument about the importance of really investing in our educational system to push higher education forward?
Well, one thing that we're really proud of with TRIO, we are one of the most bipartisan programs you will find in Congress. We have a 128-member Congressional TRIO Caucus, and if you look at the list, it's some strange bedfellows. You will find members of the Freedom Caucus and members of the Progressive Caucus, but they walk hand in hand because they've seen the impact of these programs in their communities. And that's really what it's all about. What is it doing every day to change the lives of not just young people? We serve adults, we serve veterans, we serve students with disabilities. We're helping students from 6th grade all the way through adult ed get to and through college.
Nola?
Thank you so much for doing the work that you do. This is a conversation that means a great deal to me. I worked at UCLA for many years with first-generation community college students. So TRIO programs definitely is part and parcel to how a lot of those students become successful, graduate, and then transfer to four-year institutions. And, you know, I'm a Mellon, but I want to shout out to my McNair cousins. And the comment that I want to make is of the less than 60,000 PhDs in this country overall, you know, the McNair program, if I'm not mistaken, is responsible for like 2,500 of those Black PhDs in this country, you know. And so I have a little bit of a sarcastic view on this, that a lot of what we're seeing is intentional destruction, you know, and by the McNair program being part of TRIO, I think that is a way, right, to make sure that you are cutting off and chopping off the legs of Black economic and educational attainment growth. And so my question is, what sort of support, what other kind of ways are you all thinking about getting financial support, you know, preparing for the government to completely just pull the plug on TRIO programs? Because I know that some schools, I know UCLA being one of them, they did some creative things, you know, like partnering with the community colleges when funding was short. Okay. So I'm curious, what are some of the creative ways that you all are thinking about getting alternative funding?
Well, TRIO, it's the federal TRIO programs. It's entirely funded by the federal government. Yes, there are handfuls of institutions that supplement that, but if the federal government were to divest, TRIO would no longer exist. So we're not giving up. We're not waving a white flag. We are claiming victory on this. If you happen to see any of the congressional hearings this past week, you saw Republicans and Democrats wave their hands and say TRIO is important. TRIO needs to be preserved. In terms of your point about economic growth, you know, I know I might not be the right place to say this, but it's not just a Black thing. The joke is, people think when they target these programs, they're just going after the Black and brown kids. But the reality is, the largest racial category of students served by TRIO, in fact, are Caucasian, because poverty does not know color. Right. And so just like you're seeing with the reconciliation bill that wants to claw back on Pell Grants, that wants to claw back on how much student loan forgiveness people can get, this is an attack on poor students who want to get an education.
Well, so what do you need people to do?
Please visit our website, coenet.org, to learn more about us and the fight and how you can help us and move forward.
All right, sounds good. We sure appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having us.
Folks, today, Compton High School had a special visitor at their graduation after one of their fellow classmates. She slipped a note at an event to the former second gentleman, Douglas Imhoff, a personal note asking his wife to drop by their graduation. Well, today, those Compton students did that. They could thank Mashay Causey for doing so. This is what happened at Compton High School.
So students, is it okay if we bring up the vice president so we can give her her diploma? Board members?
Had to be pretty cool there. Now the vice president did not give a speech. She spent more than an hour at the graduation taking selfies with the students and their families, and so that was pretty cool. There was a video that was posted between the both of them that I thought was pretty funny. Check this out.
Hi, can you come to my graduation, please?
Of course.
Today, Tarrant County commissioners
There was a rope line, and she was working my shade was working it. She handed Doug a note, and then all of a sudden, Doug was like, I passed on to the wife. So pretty cool there. The vice president, she's skipped a lot of political events. She wasn't at the California State Democratic Party annual event last week. She hasn't done many of those events, but pretty cool deal for her to drop by the Compton graduation. Folks, we're going to show you tomorrow the back and forth between Cory Booker and Ted Cruz. We're running out of time here. Let me thank Noah. Let me thank Robert for being here as well. All of our guests for being here as well. Folks, if you want to support the work that we do, remember, we talk about stuff other people don't talk about. We don't waste our time with the same nonsense as mainstream media. I can guarantee you all of these networks are going crazy over Elon Musk and Donald Trump going back and forth. There's a reason we saved it to almost the end of the show, because there was far more important stuff that we focus on that those networks don't focus on. And I told y'all about the folks at YouTube when they dropped their weekly podcast last year. Of course, they launched it. We were number 78. And the second week we were 62nd, and then we were 46 last week. And when I saw it this week, we were actually number 51. And so we still are doing what we do. I'll look up and pull up in a second. But again, we appreciate y'all putting us on that list every single week. We check it, and what they do is when they look at when they break down their top podcasting chart, it's not based upon views, it's based upon watch hours. And the reality is, so you see right here, all these different podcasts right here. And when you look at, in terms of black news, look, it's just us when you look at the top podcast. So this is the top 100 that you see right here. And you'll see, again, Club Shay Shay. You got some black conservative dude. You got Nightcap. You've got different ones. And then, of course, you get to the 85 South Comedy Show. They are 50 this week. We're number 51, ahead of the Joe Budden podcast, Gill Arenas, and others. And so, again, we appreciate y'all watching the show every single week. And again, we're going to keep speaking to the issues that other folk ignored. And so we want y'all to spread the word as well. But your support also matters. And so please support us via Cash App. Of course, use a Stripe QR code. That's how you can support us. Click the Cash App button to contribute. You can also use it for credit cards, checks, and money order. Make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. Financier to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Download the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. Be sure to get a copy of my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. All this stuff y'all seeing, them blocking African nations, I told y'all this 4 years ago. Actually, I've been speaking about it since 2009. Get the audio version I read on Audible as well. Don't forget to get our swag. You can go to rolandmartin.creator-spring.com. Of course, you see right there the various shirts, but there's a lot of other stuff that we have as well. Show stuff, Black Star Network. Don't forget, support the black-owned businesses that are in our marketplace. Go to shopblackstarnetwork.com, shopblackstarnetwork.com. Also, if you want to download the audio podcast, we're on the iHeartRadio network, and so you can check it out there. We're on all podcast platforms. And of course, be sure to support Fanbase. Download the app if you want to invest. They've raised more than $12 million. The goal is $17 million in the Series A raise. Go to startengine.com/fanbase. Startengine.com/fanbase. We didn't show it today. We'll show it tomorrow. We went to Capitol Hill, where Congresswoman Yvette Clarke announced the creator of the Congressional Creators Caucus. We'll have that for you tomorrow as well, and explain to you what that is and show you the video from that as well. All right, folks, it's time for you to go watch Truth Talks. They're live right now. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Holla!